You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm back with Supervisor Richard Forster, and you were just at a RCRC meeting, right? And how many days does one of those go on, or whatever?
It was our annual conference for RCRC.
Okay.
It happens once a year and goes from last Wednesday, Thursday, and then half a day on Friday was when our board meeting is held, which we have to attend a board meeting anyway. But these
are you maybe just a little background too? How long have you been the member here that goes to the RCRC meetings?
I think I've been the delegate to RCRC for about 7 years now.
Okay. So you have a lot of history back with that, huh? Yeah,
I'm a former chair of RCRC. I mean, this year I sit on the executive committee again for RCRC. I chair the regulatory committee for RCRC, and also I'm the vice chair of the Homebuyers Fund, which is a private side. RCRC is a public and a private organization, which helps keep our fees down, our dues to member-paying counties. And it's a great organization. They do a lot for rural counties. They also have an Environmental Services Joint Powers Authority, which is made up of all the counties, and that's what's provided grants for things like recycling tires or other activities, used oil recycling. So it's really a great organization for the county, and provides us a lot of resources at a very nominal cost.
How many counties belong to that, Richard?
Right now we just accepted Tulare County as another member, so we have 32 counties now.
Okay.
And you would think, is Placer County a rural county? Well, there are some parts of Placer that are very rural.
Sure.
So I think our population is capped at 300,000 for a county.
All right.
But we go all the way down. We have Imperial is one of our counties. That's the furthest south. I think Trinity County, or I believe it's Trinity, is the furthest north.
So I think it's obvious, like, right, this is where the smaller counties, the rural counties get together and say, well, a lot of these things might seem good for California. Maybe they're good for the the big counties with all the population, but a lot of times what you're doing hurts us.
Yeah,
take us into consideration.
Right, and that's what we do. We advocate for basically giving some credence that small counties don't have the resources that large counties have, and in many ways some of our advocacy is very important because it helps things like bring our rural sheriff's grants and things like that back to our counties. Otherwise, our sheriff would be in trouble. If our budget goes south this year at the state level, that's always in jeopardy, those rural crime monies that come back to our counties. But that's always the case. Wherever you look, Williamson-Act was primarily rural counties. We advocated for that issue. The same on the fare issue. With statewide small fairs always having a problem coming up with money. We advocate for all those issues. Sometimes we're successful, sometimes we're not. That's just the nature of the game.
Okay, so what was what was big this year?
Well, they had I actually moderated a panel on AB 109, and that has to do with realignment and the transfer of prisoners from the state responsibility to local responsibility. We had the chief probation officer, Linda Pinner, from I believe she's down from Fresno County, and then we had sheriff from Solano County, and we had Brett Morgan on the panel, who is now a judge in San Joaquin County, but he was the former chief of staff to Matthew Cate for CDCR, for California Department of Corrections. Now he is a judge, so he's got to look at things from that angle. But those three staff members, that panel was a good hour and a half, and it needed to be an hour and a half. There were a lot of questions on that issue.
Can you give us a quick synopsis of it?
Quick synopsis is everyone's trying to think outside the box and come up with new ways to make it work, because as the sheriff indicated from Solano County, they receive many more inmates than they thought they were going to receive from the state. Some counties receive less, some more. The actual projections statewide of how many inmates were going to counties were correct. It's just they got it wrong on how many were going to which counties. So some counties fell under the number, some counties were substantially over the number. And those counties are having trouble dealing with it.
What about
the same thing, Tom, that we're experiencing, he indicated. They've got an increase in violence in the prisons because you have more sophisticated criminals. You have an increase with the violence of weapons coming in. You have an increase of trying to smuggle drugs in. You have more sophisticated inmates who are trying to escape. just issues they've never had to deal with before. Our sheriff, Martin Ryan, and our jail staff are having to deal with the same impacts from AB 109.
Right, and we get some of the prisoners like that because some of the jail times can go rather long.
He said there was just an inmate, I believe it was Santa Barbara County, don't hold me on that, but I believe he said he was sentenced to 18 years.
Right, and the
county jails are not prisons. They're not meant to hold people for that long. And now we have a game, as our police chief in Jackson said, where other counties are trying to shift their prisoners to Amador County.
Oh, wow.
And our police chief in Jackson caught that, and rightly so, pushed that prisoner back where he belongs. We don't need inmates from the Bay Area. They like it up here. It's as the inmate said, it's cleaner. They treat it better. There's less violence. The food's good. Why wouldn't they want to come here? But whole thing is, we're overcrowded right now. We got to help our sheriff and help his department deal with the numbers that they have. Our probation officer, Mark Benini, is doing a great job on that.
We could probably talk about this for a long time, but why don't we move to another point?
We had a good panel on telemedicine. A doctor from UC Davis and an administrator talking about that. And interesting, you see the state of California going down, and there's a line they drew. You could almost draw a line right down the middle. There's very few dots on the eastern side of the state where telemedicine is actually being incorporated into facilities. Even Sutter Amador Hospital here has a small telemedicine presence right now, but a big problem that's hindering us is the broadband, the lack of broadband capacity, and that's across the eastern portion of our state. And I know we have several initiatives to try and address that.
Does that eastern part start from about 50 miles from the coast? Or, I mean,
well, telemedicine
starts down the middle, is it?
Telemedicine starts from the coast all the way over to about the middle.
Right, but I meant that line for to where. The coastline's very populated.
No, it's about right down the middle of the state.
All right.
So you're catching a lot of the bigger communities. That I-5 corridor is part of it. We also had a couple of sessions on, one was on straight politics, on which way they think things are going to go. One of our panelists pretty much indicated he thinks the Democrats may have a supermajority after the next election in this state. It's not good for governance if something like that happens.
How much checks and balances when you're a one-party state?
That's exactly right. There's very few checks and balances right now with some of the decisions coming out of Sacramento. Another was on Cal EPA. Our Cal EPA deputy director was there talking about the regulations and how they're trying to work with people. And sounds to me like they're in favor of a lot of regulations coming out of Sacramento.
The Cal EPA is that's a tough one for California.
Yeah, it sure is. But RCRC also took positions on Prop 30 and 31. Our county voted to take a no position on Prop 30. RCRC did the same. Our county voted to oppose Prop 31. RCRC as a body supported Prop 31.
Okay, Richard, thanks for the update, and thank you. And stay with us. More to come on TSPN's News.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader,